Hey guys, welcome back to Karan's Cuisine. For today's video, I'll be making butter chicken for part 2 of the world tour. Butter chicken is an Indian curry that is very creamy, and it originated when restaurants wanted to use leftover tandoori chicken and they added tomatoes, cream and spice to make it taste so good. Butter chicken is loved all around the world by kids in other countries because it's less spicy than some of the other Indian curries, and it's really good, trust me. The first step in making butter chicken is to marinate your chicken. For this, you need 1.5 to 2 pounds of boneless, skinless chicken thighs. I'm using chicken thighs because they absorb the most moisture and they taste the best in the end, but you can also use chicken breasts. 1 teaspoon of Kashmiri red chili powder. You can also use paprika if you want. 2 teaspoons of coriander powder, ground. 1 teaspoon of salt. 1 to 1.5 teaspoons of ginger garlic paste, and half teaspoon of turmeric. You can customize the amount of ginger garlic paste and pepper depending on your spice tolerance. Finally, 3 to 4 tablespoons of yogurt. I'm using normal Indian yogurt, but you can also use Greek yogurt, that's better. Now you have to cut the chicken into 1-inch thick strips and take off some of the fat. If you want, you can leave the fat on, but then you have to use less oil for frying the chicken in the next step. If you want, you can also cut it into cubes, but that's just based on your preference. I have my chicken cut and ready, and now I can add the spices and yogurt to the chicken. First, you want to add all your spices except for the ginger garlic paste. And then mix it in with your hands. Or hand, in my case. Now add your ginger garlic paste. Finally, add your yogurt, and this has to be added last. And so once we mix everything up, we're gonna put it in the fridge from overnight, or if you want, like up to 3 hours if you're in like a rush. And if you want it to be done immediately, then you can just not use the yogurt and just put it in the fridge for 30 minutes and then take it out. But the yogurt makes the chicken more tender and it tastes so much better and softer at the end. Now that the yogurt is all mixed in, we can cover this up and put it in the fridge for 3 hours to overnight. I've marinated my chicken for about 3 hours, and what I forgot to tell you is that when you're marinating it, add 1 to 1.5 teaspoons of lemon or lime after you add the yogurt, and that gives it an extra little bit of tang in your chicken, and it tastes really good. So now we have to fry the chicken, and you have to heat your pan to medium high to high. And once it's hot, add a tablespoon of oil. And if you kept the skin on, then put a little bit less oil here. And then add your chicken in. Cook it for 3 to 4 minutes on each side. Make sure that you don't crowd your pan by putting too much chicken in it. So only put about half of your chicken in at once so that you don't put all of it and then it's hard to flip it later. Make sure you move the oil around a little bit once in a while because you don't want the chicken to stick and you want it to fry evenly. And I can see a little bit of browning around the edges, and so I'm going to flip it, and you want to flip it right when it gets that nice brown color like this. I've flipped all of my chicken over, so now cook on this side for about 3 minutes. I've cooked and removed my chicken from the pan, and now I'll do the same thing with my second half of the chicken. Since I've already cooked my chicken, I can set that aside and start working on the gravy. The gravy is the best part of the butter chicken. For this, starting with the spices, you need 1 bay leaf, 3 to 4 cardamom pods, 3 to 4 cloves, and a little bit of cinnamon. 1 tablespoon of ground coriander powder, 1 tablespoon of ginger garlic paste, half a tablespoon of garam masala, half a tablespoon of Kashmiri red chili powder or paprika if you'd like, 1 teaspoon of salt, 5 tomatoes, 1.5 medium-sized onions, half a cup of cashews, and cashews are used in most North Indian curries because they add a little bit of sweetness and it balances out the taste, and it's also making it creamier. 2 tablespoons of heavy cream, 2 to 3 tablespoons of butter. You can add more, after all it is butter chicken, but I found that you can still get a creamy texture with this much butter and you're cutting down a little bit of the fat. 1.5 tablespoons of Kashmiri methi, or dried fenugreek leaves in English, and about half a tablespoon of honey. Now we can start working on our gravy and heat up the same pan that you used to cook the chicken onto medium heat, and you can see some of the chicken oils are still there, and that charred part of the chicken adds a little bit of extra taste to the gravy, so we're keeping it in. And first, add about half a tablespoon of butter. You're gonna just let that melt a little bit. Okay, and now add your cinnamon, cardamom, bay leaf, and cloves, and stir that up for about 10 seconds before adding your onions. Okay, now you can add your onions along with half of your salt, and the salt adds like a little bit of moisture to the onions and helps them cook faster. And you're gonna wait until this gets a little bit translucent in 3 to 4 minutes until you add the other spices. It's been 4 minutes and the onions are all mixed up and they're getting like translucent, so now I can add the other spices. And first add the ginger garlic paste, and once this is all mixed in, you can add all the other spices except for the salt, because we're gonna add that later in the end as per our taste. Stir the ginger garlic paste for about 30 seconds to a minute, and so that it loses like that raw kind of ginger and garlic taste and smell. Now I can add the other spices. Now stir for about 30 seconds and then add some water. I've stirred for about a minute, and now I can add the water, tomatoes, and cashews. And if you want to close the lid and cook it for about 15 minutes so that everything gets soft, and stir a little bit in between so that it doesn't stick to the bottom of the pan. And cashews are optional, but they just add a really sweet taste that balances out the spices and it makes it a lot more creamier. Time to close the lid and wait for 15 minutes. It's been about 15 minutes since I put it in, and I added an additional 1 cup of water, so a total of 1.5 cups. And you want everything to be really soft, and I checked my cashews are pretty soft so they can blend pretty well. And we're gonna let this cool and then put it in the blender so it gives you like a really creamy gravy. I cooled my sauce with all the ingredients in it, and then I blended it, and it turned into this smooth, creamy butter chicken dough. And now I'm cooking it in the same pan on medium heat for 10 to 15 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes with the chicken. And you can see the consistency doesn't really have any chunks, it's nice and smooth. And if you want, you can filter it just to remove any small chunks that might still be there, but I didn't do that. And now let's add the chicken. Cook this for about 5 to 10 minutes while stirring in between so that the chicken gets all incorporated. It's been about 7 minutes, so I'm going to check how it is. Okay, everything kind of looks nice and coated, and it's a nice creamy consistency. So I'll add the rest of my butter and some cream. Should melt fairly quickly. My butter and cream is all mixed in, so I'm going to add my kasuri methi or fenugreek leaves. Now I'm going to be adding honey, and then the curry will be ready. You can also add sugar. It's ready. It's time to eat, and I'm serving it with a little bit of rice and some heavy cream drizzled on top, but you can eat it with anything you like naan, roti, chapati, paratha. The options are endless. Now it's time to taste it. The honey and the cashews really makes it so creamy and sweet. It's delicious. Like and subscribe, and make sure to try this recipe.